York. Obviously, it'll be one of your longer trips of the year, but New York's going to be playing on short rest. Does that kind of balance it out for you guys a little bit, having maybe them on short rest, even though you guys will be dealing with travel?
Yeah, well, I mean, the short rest only plays in if they play the same guys, and doesn't seem like they're going to. Looks like we'll probably get their best lineup on the weekend with Villa definitely being out the Wednesday, probably be back in for us. We'll see, but we're planning on it. Ring as well, and some of these other guys that seem like they're slated to come back on the weekend. So there'll be a few guys that play both games, I'm sure, and they are a bit thin. I think those are things that I've noticed don't play a ton into the match, so we really don't talk about it as being a big advantage, because we also don't know, again, who's going to play both games until we see the lineup tonight. We see the lineup obviously in our game, the start sheet.
In terms of the lineup for your game, you had said you'd hoped that everyone would be healthy by this match. How is it looking in terms of Audie, Ridgewell, Gleason?
It's looking like they won't be healthy. So I'd hoped, obviously, that the 2 weeks would mean that they were healthy. Ridgie has been back in training, but isn't fit enough to play 90 minutes, so he won't factor in this game. We're expecting him to factor in the RSL game. So he's on the mend, and he, like I said, was in training, but heart rate response after being out for nearly 80 days means that we're gonna have to build him up for a couple weeks. But good news is he should be in shortly. Audie's still not in training, so he obviously won't factor in this game.
And Jake?
Jake was in training, but won't factor in the game as well, because he needs also time to get sharp. And we just felt Jeff was going to start anyways, and Kendall, as the backup, is in a rhythm with that. And if something happened early in the game, we had to throw Jake in. We wouldn't feel comfortable with him playing 90 minutes. So we'll continue with Kendall and Jeff. And again, similar to Reggie, good news is with Jake is that he'll eventually be 90 minutes fit and 90 minutes soccer sharp.
Despite the injuries, you guys have only 2 losses in the last 11 games. You've been playing well. Obviously, you've had this break, but how's the confidence in the group right now coming back to go to New York?
Yeah, confidence is good. But there's a fine line between confidence and complacency. So it's very important that we stay hungry, that we stay focused and on edge. We still have a lot of work to do with the 6 games, and in particular, if we want to, get one of those 1 or 2 seeds and avoid the knockout, at the very least a 3-4, which gives us a home game in the knockout. If we want to be in those positions, then we got to take care of business here in the last 6 games and win, at least half or more of the games. So we know well aware. We had a great meeting today, talk about the last 7, and we looked at the results, and we looked at some improvement areas that we've made over the last 7 games, which I think has led to the improved results. And that was really pleasing to see that improvement in several areas. Closing out games, last 15 minutes is a big one. We're looking more like the team that we typically look like, where we're mentally tough and strong and organized, and we close out games to get results. And in the last 7 games, that was a big difference. We only gave up a couple goals in the last 15 minutes in 2 games. So 5 of the 7 games we didn't give up a goal, and that meant 4 of those we were winning and 1 of them we were drawing. So that's a big reason why we've done better. I think we've always been playing pretty good, but we've just been closing out games. And I also think we've been defending overall individually better in moments, set pieces, crosses. Oftentimes those were the ways we were giving up goals in the last 15 minutes, which is typical in the latter stages of games. So that's all good news, but in these last 6 now, we have to continue that form, and we have to continue getting results, because we're nowhere near in the playoffs. We've got work to do, and we're nowhere near earning a seed unless we win, a good amount of games in these last 6. So the team knows that, and they're very hungry. They're very confident. But it starts with New York.
Kind of hit everything I was going to ask.
Anything in the back?
Curious about just playing at Yankee Stadium. What's that like? Is it different? Is it the same? Just the aura for a lot of casual fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we played there 2 years ago. We had a good result there. We won the game, and so I think it's good that we've gotten that out of the way. The nostalgia of playing at Yankee Stadium. There are a few guys obviously that weren't in that game, but it's a tight pitch. I think under Christ they had struggled to win games at home there, maybe because of the pitch and not being able to keep the ball. But interestingly enough, Vieira's philosophy of keeping the ball has worked pretty well there, and they've been able to manage playing on that pitch, and I think they're unbeaten in the last 9 games at home. So they've mastered the ability to play on that pitch. The good news for us is we play on a tight pitch ourselves. So the New York pitch is tight, and a huge adjustment for a lot of teams that play on a big pitch. We play on a very tight pitch here at Providence Park. It's 110 by 75, and New York is 106 yards by 70. So it's only a couple yards more narrow and a couple yards shorter. And so we're used to, playing on a tight pitch. So I don't think there'll be much adjustment. But we also did line our practice pitch out exactly to the dimensions of New York's field, just to get a little bit of a sense. And I think the best thing that the guys learn from it, it's not that much of a difference. And our practice pitch is lined exactly like our game pitch, same dimensions. And I think they were surprised when I told them this is New York's dimensions, and they saw that it was a yard or two pinched and not a huge difference.
You guys, like you said, only play 6 games to close out the year in September and October. That's fewer than you have had at the end of the year in past years. Do you think that's a benefit for you guys, trying to, as you said, trying to pick up a good amount of wins in this last part of the year?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think the way the season has fallen has been really good. We had some home games to start the year. We were kind of front-loaded there, which allowed us to get off to a good start. And then we had, a summer where we had a lot of road games and tough travels. So we got that out, kind of out of the way a little bit. Some of our tougher road trips and more compacted windows, and some of those windows were windows where we were playing through international breaks. And, so we got that out of the way, and we suffered some a little bit through that, especially with, the injuries as well, compounding things. But now in the final 6, I really like the schedule, and I like how it's laid out. We got 3 home, 3 away. We finished 3 of 4 at home. We finished with 2 at home. We have 3 non-conference games out of the 6, which is good because, those are everything to gain, nothing to lose. Whereas when you're playing in conference, there's 6-point swingers, and we do have a couple, games, versus teams that are, going to be massive. Obviously, Salt Lake and San Jose. These teams are below us. In the past, we've maybe focused on, making sure we win those games because we want to get above the red line so they don't. I think the motivation is different this year. This year, the motivation is to go for the top and to not be satisfied just getting in, but making sure we get in a good position to have the best chance to make a run and win it. Obviously, if you avoid the knockout, you have a better chance. If you avoid, going on the road in the knockout, if you can get home field advantage, then you have a better chance. Obviously, we won MLS Cup with a 3 seed. So obviously 3-4 minimum, we want to make sure we have a home field game in the knockout, but we're going to keep pushing to try to avoid the knockout. And if we win, certainly if we win out, we get that. I'm confident in that. If we win, 4-5, I think it'll be close. And with 3 home games, you know, the goal is to win all 3 of the home games, and you know, can we get a couple wins here on the road? And I think that's the mindset, you know. So guys know what they need to do. I like that we have a game and a week and a game. So, you know, again, I think some of these teams that have games in hand, people don't factor in. Well, those are in really compacted windows, those games in hand, where they're playing 3 and 8 days, 3 and 7 days. And so that's not really ideal to have those games in hand, and that's where we got ahead on some teams with those games, and we didn't really benefit because those windows are tough and difficult. So those things don't factor in. I'd much rather have points in hand than games in hand, especially at this stage where the pressure tightens, and you know, when you start doing the math and saying, well, we got to win, you know, 6 or 7 to get in the playoffs. And my experience has been that the teams that are up where we're at versus the teams that are behind it, and we've been there, it's a much better position to be in.